Hi guys, welcome back to the interactive and geographical plotting lecture. We have learned about the interactive plotting in the first part of this lecture. Let's talk about the geographical plotting now. Geographical plotting is usually challenging because of various formats in the datasets. Plotly provides a way to plot geographical data interactively using its choropleth type. To move on for geographical plotting, we need to do some imports. So let's import plotly dot graph underscore objs as go, and let's run this cell. Just to let you know, because we have started our lecture within the previous notebook, so we don't need to do all those imports again, what we did in the beginning of the previous lecture. However, if you are starting with new notebook, you have to do all these imports again. So moving forward, I am going to copy the code from the reference notebook here. Let's go to the reference notebook and copy this code here and paste it here. I'll explain this step by step. This code is originally copied from the Plotly cheat sheet, and it is given here choropleth map, TRC dictionary and layout map and everything. This is little complicated and you don't need to memorize this code. You can always reference to the documentation. And this is how the Plotly work for geographical maps. Let's try to understand what this code is doing. In the first part here, we are building the data dictionary TRC. We are setting type as a choropleth, passing in the locations as a list of states, passing the location mode, which tells the Plotly that we are doing with US national level, setting some color scales here, passing another list as text, which are the names of the states. And this is what we want to hover on our map. And here we are passing some values that will be shown on the color scale. And then we are setting the title of the color bar. So this is our data dictionary. Next, what we are doing in this line, we are creating a layout variable, which is a nested dictionary object, and setting the scope equal to US. And here we are passing data and layout to the go.figure. In the last line, we are passing map to iplot for plotting. Let's run this cell, and here we have our output. If we move our cursor to these states like California 20, Arizona 10, and Vermont 30. So 10, 20, and 30 were the values that we passed in to this Z here. And this is what is appearing along with these values when we move the cursor on the map here. And color bar title, this is what we set, color bar title, and this is here, color bar title. Let's move on and work with the real data now, which is exports data. The datasets are available on Plotly GitHub page. We can pass a link to the dataset to directly read into data frame. However, a copy of dataset is also included in the folder. In case you don't have access to the internet, you can read the data from those downloaded CSV files, which are provided in the course material. So once again, I'll go back to the reference notebook and copy the code from there. So this line, and paste it here. So what we are doing, we are just passing the link to pd.readcsv and directly reading the CSV file from the GitHub page. If we run this cell and check the head of the data, here we have, and this is our real data set. Code ALAK, states in United States, and the name of the state. This is the category column here. Total exports, beef, pork, poultry, dairy, and all these kind of other stuff like corn, wheat, and cotton. Let's add few cells. Let's call info on our data frame, df.info. And here we have a summary of our data frame We have 50 entries and we have 17 columns. Now, if we look at the data frame, we have individual columns for each state of export and for each entity, such as beef, pork, poultry, dairy, and so on. Most of the times, we have to build our own text column. So let's create a new column that combines this information so that we can pass the column to text key that will hover on the plot. So to do this, we need to convert the column's data type from float to string first. We can use for loop and convert the data types from float to string. So for call in df dot columns and df call equal to df call dot as type str. So we are converting this float to string. Let's run this cell and check the info again. Now we don't have floats here anymore. Let's create a new column text with all this information that we want to hover on our map. So df text df grab state. Let's copy the code from the reference notebook because this is a simple stuff. So what we're doing, we are creating a new column text and grabbing state and then using plus sign to grab the information from each column, beef from the beef column, dairy from the dairy column, fruits, and so on. So we are grabbing information from each column and generating a new column which is text so that we can use that information to hover on our map. Let's run this cell and check the head of our data frame. So df dot head. So here we have our new column. State, beef, dairy, fruits, and so on. So it's grabbing 34.4 from beef column, 4.06 from dairy column, and so on. Let's create a data dictionary with some extra markers and color bar arguments. I'm going to copy the code from the reference notebook again because you don't need to memorize this code. You can always reference to the cheat sheet, and this is what we did. We copied this data from cheat sheet and did some changes here. So paste it here, and once again we are generating a data dictionary here. Type is choropleth, color scale, locations, and we are grabbing code column from our data frame for locations. Instead of passing the list, we are grabbing a complete column because we have a column in our data frame now. Location mode is once again US states. This is telling Plotly that we are working with the US national level. So Z, we are grabbing the total export column. This is what the color bar will represent. This text is the column that we have created recently, and this will hover on the map. So here we are passing marker as a dictionary and color here. Then we are setting color bar title, which is millions in dollars. Next, we are creating layout dictionary with some arguments here, like our title of the map is 2011 US agriculture exports by state, and next scope is US. Show lakes equal to true. We want actual lake on the map. This will show the lakes on the map. We'll see how it is going to work. And the lake color we are setting here blue. Next, we are creating a Coro map, passing the data and layout to go.figure, and then passing this Coro map to iplot. Let's run this cell and see how it looks like. Here we have our output. These are the lakes in blue color. If we move our cursor on the, say, California state here, we see 16.47 is our total export. California is the name of the state. Beef, dairy, fruit, have their own individual numbers from the data frame. Similarly, if we move on to Texas here and then move on to Pennsylvania and any state, we can move on and we can see all these numbers that we set in the text column. So this was about US level choropleth. Let's try to plot the world choropleth map now. We are going to read world GDP data from Plotly datasets again. The Word GDP dataset is provided in the course material, and you can also read from the Plotly's GitHub page. I'm going to read from the Plotly GitHub page, and I'll go and copy the code from the reference notebook. So this is the line, and if I paste it here, I'm simply reading the data from Plotly GitHub page and using pd.readcsv into GDP. Let's run this cell and check the head of our data frame, gdp dot head. Run this cell. Here we have country, GDP in billions, and the code of the country. Similarly, once again, you can copy the code from the Plotly cheat sheet, or you can go and copy the code from the reference notebook. So I'm going to copy the code from the reference notebook again. So this is the same stuff again. Here we are creating a data dictionary. Our type is choropleth. Location is GDP and code. We are grabbing this code column. Z is our GDP in billions. So we are grabbing this GDP in billions column here. Text is the country, which is the name of country. And we are setting the title of the color bar GDP billions US dollar. Then we are setting the layout here. And then finally plotting. If we run this cell, so we have this 2014 global GDP. So United States 17.42K, Canada 1,794, and Russia 2,057, China 10.36K, and so on. If we move the cursor on the map, we'll get the number for the related country here. You can explore more about the range of parameters that we can pass in to choropleth, and you can go to the reference notebook and follow this link here. However, we have already explored the most commonly used options in the geographical plotting. So guys, this was all about interactive and geographical plotting. I hope you have learned really the key concepts behind interactive and geographical plotting. It's always good to do practice. Try to plot different data sets from different sources and see how the things move on. Explore more from the Plotly official documentation so that you learn more and more options. Although we have explored most commonly used options in the geographical plotting in this lecture, however, you can move on and explore more on a range of options. You may need to use them at some places. Let's move on and do some practice in the next lecture. See you in the next lecture. Good luck.